So what do you do if you're the foremost manufacturer of jet engines? How do you take a once hobbled enterprise and transform it from an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan with what we now know is a stop along the way? Look at what General Electric's doing under Chairman and CEO Larry Culp. He's fixing the company on the fly, raising $20 billion by selling the company's strong life sciences business so they'll have enough cash to ride this one out. But at the same time, he's taking some tough action, harsh action even, necessary to cope with the sudden drop in demand, furloughing half the staff in his engine business that's helping, and he's helping fight at the same time COVID-19 at the same time by building ventilators, among other high-tech healthcare weapons in this, at times, overwhelming battle. But do not take it from me. Let's hear directly from Larry. Mr. Culp, welcome back to Mad Money.
Jim, thanks. Good to be with you again.
Okay, so Larry, I know these are tough times throughout the world, but sometimes when you get a check for $20 billion, you've got to feel that you've got the future at least a little more secure than you did a couple of months ago. Tell us about that sale and what it means for GE.
Sure, Jim. But we were very pleased on Tuesday night to close the sale of our biopharma business to Danaher. As you know, that was a $20 billion cash transaction. And one of the first things I did as CEO 18 months ago was really pivot from the planned IPO of healthcare to a cash sale of that biopharma business, a wonderful business, to a strategic buyer. There's no better way than, let alone now, to address the liquidity and the leverage challenges that we were facing with a move like that. And with $20 billion of cash in the bank on top of the $36 billion that we walked into this year with, in addition to the ample bank lines that we have, we think that in the face of the COVID-19 crisis, we've got our liquidity position well in hand.
Well, now, I think some people will say, well, wait a second, did they get rid of healthcare? It's hardly like that. We have a common enemy that we are all facing. It's nice to be unified for a change. A common enemy of COVID-19. And you are part of the Defense Production Act going to be working, although you would have done it, you were already doing it before, in an alliance to help defeat this COVID-19 by ramping the ventilator production. How is that going?
Well, Jim, we're doing more than ventilators, to be clear. And I'll come back to the DPA news that was out earlier today. But if you look at what GE Healthcare does today, and even with the biopharma sale, this is a $17 billion global medtech business. Ventilators is certainly an area where we're playing a role. We've doubled our production capacity here in the U.S. already. We're going to do it again here later this spring. We re-engineered, with the support of the FDA, our installed base of over 100,000 anesthesia machines, so they too can be used in ventilation. And in partnership with Ford, we're bringing on additional production capacity as we speak. Now, that is, again, in addition to all that we're doing to support clinicians today who are using our imaging equipment, particularly our CT scanners, all over the world. We were on the front lines in hospitals in Wuhan at the start of this tragedy, and we've been supporting clinicians all over the world. In addition to ventilators and CT scanners, we're ramping our patient monitor production up as well. And our clinical command centers, basically a software product that hospitals use to manage patient volumes, is something that we have been updating here of late, again, to do all we can in the hospital settings as our doctors and nurses face this incredible challenge.
Okay, so Larry, let's talk about a crisis that was certainly not of your making either, which is that we suddenly find a challenge industry that you are king of, which is aerospace. Now, we know Boeing is an amazing company, but you have the most pristine business, the aerospace business. Even your detractors, Larry, have always said, you know what, they had that unbelievable business. But you've had to take some tough action, including a furlough today, which I know you didn't want to do, but you really had no choice if you're going to be able to play offense in 2021, correct?
Jim, that's exactly right. You know, we are thrilled with the leadership position that we enjoy at GE Aviation. I think that is a given, as you suggest. But we're not immune from the rapid contraction that we're seeing in travel and hospitality. the direct effect that's had on our airline customers and certainly our airframers like Boeing and Airbus here as well. So we're doing all that we can to support our customers at this time of rapid change and uncertainty. At the same time, we're doing what we need to do to address cost and cash actions so that we can weather the storm, however it plays out, and be ready on the other side. Because there will be, Jim, let us never forget, there will be another side here.
You know, Larry kind of feels like, I was growing up, we talked about what GE did in World War II. And what did they do? Well, they were in grenades. They were in ships. They were in bazookas. They were in every single difficult part of winning that war, mechanically, and now you're doing it digitally. Just talk about the war footing that General Electric is on right now.
Well, again, I think it starts first and foremost with what our healthcare team is doing on the front lines with doctors and nurses every day. I think we are incredibly proud of what our service engineers are doing 24/7 to make sure that our equipment is primed for use and being deployed in the proper way. Just this week, Jim, as you saw in New York with the U.S. Comfort coming to New York Harbor, we have CT scanners, other imaging equipment on board. We have 9 service engineers who have been 24/7 supporting that installed base. So as patients come aboard, we're in a position to help. And that's really happening, again, all over the world. In Europe, here in the States, it's certainly, we're leveraging the lessons that we took from China. And that coupled with what we're doing in aviation, certainly what we're doing in both our power and renewables businesses as well, to make sure that critical infrastructure is intact at this time, is nothing that any of us should take for granted.
Okay, so Larry, the last thing I do want to talk about is probably the most important thing. You've been a CEO for a while, not at GE, but at Danaher, where you sold the biopharma business to. 2001 with 9/11, 2007 to 2009. These are, people say, oh, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, and then I see them waste it. What have you learned from previous to be able to deal with power, which was a problematic, to be able to deal with pension, to be able to deal with balance sheet, to be able to deal with now aerospace? I mean, you know, I got to tell you something, Larry. I mean, this is kind of a Job-like hand you got here.
Well, Jim, there are many, many blessings attached to having an opportunity to be a public company CEO at a young age. In my first year, I led a company dealing, as we all were, with the aftermath of 9/11, and then again a different type of crisis in 2008 with the financial situation. I mean, for me, it really starts with making sure we're getting ahead of the reality. In situations like this, regardless of how challenging things are, the tendency is to think, well, it can't get worse. Well, as we've seen over the last month, things can happen. You need to think, as one of my colleagues at GE says, about the unthinkable. But then I think you really need to make sure you define, even in that context, what good looks like. What does winning look like? And then with that paradigm, that roadmap defined, make sure we're taking action. Not contemplating doing this or that, but really taking the actions, many of which can be challenging and unpleasant, but necessary in a time like this.
Well, Larry,
to me, that's really the simple equation.
Right. I got to tell you, Larry, you are an inspiration to many. One by one, you've checked off the boxes, and there's just more boxes and more boxes. And I am so confident you're going to check off all of my Chapel Trust. Been buying your stock all the way down. It's so right here. I know it's not the year to play offense this year. You got a little more D, but I think you're going to come out big next year. Larry Culp, Chairman and CEO of General Electric, GE. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, we got so much more in this show. Wow. I got the exclusive with Okta, one of my faves. Chipotle. Hey, they're helping out the heroes, healthcare heroes. Ring Central, how can I help you? Well, they've got a video product that you're going to love. I insist that you stay with Cramer.
Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on Twitter. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadTweets. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.